Hi, what the flick? How you doing? We're back with The Walking Dead, the second half of Season 7. Tim, Francis, this is Season 7, Episode 9, Rock in the Road. Not Rocky Road, not Rockin' Road, Rock in the Road.
Rock in the Road.
What did you think, Francis? Where do you want to start, specific or vague?
I'll go a little vague. I've tried something a little different. Like usually I'll either take mental notes or I'll take physical notes like you do very well.
Those are the
see
two
Tim's
options.
notes, they're extensive. J.K. Rowling length notes.
I jot some stuff down.
And I appreciate that, and I do it sometimes. What I wanted to take was this approach was I just watched it and just let it be and never even thought about it until I came in today. Until
You realize we do a review show. We have to have some thoughts.
No, I know, but it's still fresh in my memory.
Thanks for joining us, What the Flick. We're just going to let this one be.
So I don't know whether the audience are going to agree or disagree with this, but I just wanted to have it be fresh. And now that I think back, it's better because I feel like I enjoyed the episode a little bit more so that I didn't try to overcomplicate things. Because I don't think it was an overcomplicated episode. I think the foundations were laid in front of us. We now see Rick get back to what he was always kind of like, well, still not there yet. He's not going to make his decisions solely based on his instinct, which I feel he did a lot of the time. But now he's taking it a little bit more of a cautious look because he knows how powerful the antagonists are in this example. He's felt the wrath of them. So he's trying to build an army. He's trying to get people behind them to go and push forward. And I did like the somewhat uplifting outlook on the episode, right? Because if you look at it in comparison to some of the other mid-season premieres or even the season premiere of this season, like that was one of the darkest episodes we've seen. And I thought that it did its job. It was just to show us that everyone's kind of trying to turn the corner. Whether they get there or not, we don't know. There's still Rosita and Sasha had that weird interaction. Weird phrase was like, just because we boned the same dead guy doesn't mean we're friends. And I was like, whoa, where did that come from? But it was kind of like to show that we're not all there yet. We're not just going to be chummy and everything's going to work out. There's going to be a lot of rocks in the road.
Well, I had a lot of criticisms about the first half of the season. And in my mind, it was a whole lot of meticulously setting up dominoes. We had to meet all the characters. We had to understand their motivations. We had to place them in the right situation with the right resources and the right assets.
I agree.
And now we're about ready to push that first one and see what all of this work was for. We start at Hilltop. We start with Gabriel, and he's stealing stuff in the middle of the night and driving off, and that's mysterious. We learn about that a little bit later. But then we go right to the Hilltop, and Gregory is saying, it was a failed experiment, it's over, it never happened, I don't want to know any of you, please all leave, and this never ever happened. Of course, then the residents of the Hilltop right away say, no, fuck that noise, we're ready to fight. Do you think we can win? Train us right now. So Gregory's on the way out, Maggie's on the way in. That's how I read it.
Yeah,
And then, right away, I accuse this show of having, slow, poor pacing all the time. And here we are, Jesus is like, hey, I think it's time to go to the kingdom. And boom, we're at the kingdom. Like, this is a plot-driven episode.
Yeah.
It was so much happened. We got a lot of exposition, but it didn't feel very expository. It didn't feel forced.
No.
It felt like that they had planned out this story arc the whole time, and now we're ready to go. Unfortunately, there were like 5 episodes of filler we needed to mash all together before this happened, but now we're back to driving story.
Well, I feel like if this was the first half of the season, we would have been like, oh, we're going to go and meet Ezekiel, and then they'd be like, oh, Ezekiel, let's wait. Like, do we need to get an army together? What do we need to do? And it's just like, no, we're up against it. Let's just go there.
We're in the room.
There's
the
what
tiger.
happens.
This is happening.
That was one of my favorite scenes.
I think this was the best reaction to the tiger.
Yeah.
Because before the audience is like, what the fuck is going on with that tiger?
And
now we see Rick say what the fuck is going on with that tiger, and I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe you just walked into a room with a tiger, and that is intimidating.
Yeah, because Jesus didn't address it. People were like, oh, I forgot to mention. It's like, oh yeah, the tiger. So I actually did really like that interaction, and I like the way that the show kind of set you up to expect Ezekiel to... The way the episode was going is everything was happening fast, and I expected Ezekiel to just be like, all right, let's do it. Let's just go ahead and do it. He had that nice scene with one of his comrades who talked to him basically around the kid that was out in the wood, Benjamin, who was out in the wood, and he actually packed water for it in case he runs into someone who needs a helping hand. So he's, I think, yet to be... Even though he has felt the harshness of this world, because I believe he lost his parents, he's still holding on to his humanity in terms of he's going to help anyone who needs help as he ran into Carol. And I thought that was the moment where Ezekiel was going to kind of, all right, well, this is someone who I hold close to my chest, and he's making a valid point. Let's go ahead and do it. But then there's the other side of it, which is the side that I've tried to profess throughout our reviews, is that this group is unlike any other group we've seen. They are petrifying. They're the saviors. They are literally petrifying. They have mass numbers. They do what they want. They have a system set up. They have a blockade around their environment. There's still some sort of cloudiness as to where they actually, like, whether or not people know where they are. So I think that what Ezekiel can see is what a lot of the audience, or part of the audience sees, is that I don't think you can jump headfirst into this. I don't think that's what Rick and them want to do. I think they want to take their time, but I don't blame Ezekiel for being like, oh, hold on. We've already lost a lot of people because of this, so I'm going to second guess it.
Yeah, and so he's gun shy. He's hesitant to do anything. I liked that scene with Benjamin where, he says, hey, if you're asked to be the hero, you should be the hero. We're ready. Let's do this. He clearly has, the aspirations that his father had to make the world a better place. And we also hear from Richard, his second in command, who says, this is bad and it's going to get worse. You don't see it, but I see it. We need to do this. And then he even goes off with Rick and says, just let me fight. I'll do it. But that's not enough. What I think plays the best, and they didn't even really say it out loud, was Ezekiel's been keeping this a secret from his people. The Hilltop knows what the saviors are, and they're ready to fight. Yeah. But if Ezekiel went in front of all his people and said, hey, these guys you've never heard of, they're really bad, so I'm going to send you to, die and kill them as best that we can. That's not going to play real well. So I'm not sure how Ezekiel is going to come around, because even if you get Ezekiel, you have to get everybody else too. Well, unless he just has unlimited kingly authority to send these folks off.
But then will they still be able to do their job? Because if they're sending without any sort of motivation, look what happened with the governor. He tried to rally his troops around in order to go and take over the prison.
Did not work.
And it didn't work because basically what we see now has ended up having recruits from his group go and join Rick because they didn't have motivation.
That's where Tara
came from. Because she had basically encompassed the lack of understanding that group had. They didn't know what the governor wanted other than power. There was this group that had basically the security and the protection that he wanted and ran and gave respect to a leader that he wanted. So he went in power hungry and he lost badly. He lost a lot of people and ended up losing himself. A couple of times. So I think that was a comparison I actually said to my missus when I was watching it. I was like, they're going to have to literally rally them around Rick's group, because Rick's group we know them as the group that we all love, and we know their capabilities. But if you're part of Ezekiel's group and you see this group of 5 or 6 people come in, they don't look the part. They don't look like a group that you're going to rally behind. They're not heavily armed. They're not equipped. They're literally stripped to the bare bones. That's what this whole first half of the season has been. Strip them back of everything that they had that was fearful. Now they have literally kind of nothing other than their ideas.
Yeah, it's the exact opposite of the raid on the initial Savior.
Very true.
Where they were like finely tuned killing machine.
Just destroying people.
It's way different. They had a lot of automatic rifles.
I think that was deliberately put forward that way, so that because one of the things I watched and talking to it after is I think it was a good point is people didn't enjoy the first half of the season as much. I actually really liked it because it was just stripping all of our heroes back to literally nothing, just showing how vulnerable they can be and give room for a rise up. That's what we see in the billboards now. That's the idea, is give room for them to come back from nothing and showcase that they've still got what it takes to go and do this. So it poses an interesting dynamic. I think we can all understand that, we're going to get Ezekiel on board at some point, but that doesn't mean that we need to believe it's going to happen right away. They need to find some strong reason to be like, hey, come and sacrifice yourself, because you're literally going up against an army of fine-tuned, aggressive killers, basically, in the Saviors.
I also think this episode struck a really good balance between character development, plot, and action.
Yes.
People on the internet accuse me of being obsessed with just action and wanting that all the time. This was some damn good action.
What do you want, Tim? 2 cars driving side by side, slicing half of the walkers en masse?
So badly did I want that. And I had no idea until it was happening. That was a great effect, a great scene. And that diffusing of the bombs with the walkers coming was some of the best tension that we've seen in 3 seasons, I think.
Yeah,
it was well constructed. It was well carried out without making me think anybody had crazy plot armor, even though they do. It was close and it was hectic and everything. I don't know. I just really like that.
Well, I saw some people online that were being like, oh, and Rick and Michonne could just push away walkers now. And I'm thinking, this isn't season 1 anymore. Yeah, when they just become new to this environment and they're petrified of every little scratch, scrape, or whatever, yeah, they're not going to just run into a mass of walkers. But now they've lived in this world for how long? Yeah, they can push off a dozen walkers in order to find their room. But I just didn't want anything to cloud how badass that scene was. Like, that was just, I'm completely with you. Usually I would question the false tension that we consistently message on the review of how, in order to get attention, Daryl will forget that needs to pull out a gun, right? Come on. We've seen this guy slaughter people and walkers constantly. We don't need false tension there. But what we can have is explosives. As far as I was aware, no one was trained to be able to defuse that situation, pun intended. I didn't know that was part of what Rosita had in her arsenal, but credit to her. So I was surprised as a viewer. I was like, oh, something could happen, something could explode here. I don't know, something could happen that lets the Saviors know that they basically tampered with this. So there was a lot of tension in that scene alone. It was one of my favorites, I think, in the past couple of seasons.
Yeah, I will disagree with you in the sense that a big part of this show is suspension of belief, or suspension of disbelief, rather. Yeah, we did. Michonne and Rick did just push off a whole bunch of walkers. That's a thing that happened, and you just sort of have to let it be. Because that's how that scene ends, and you're right. You can criticize it up and down, and you'd be right to criticize it. I have enough suspension of disbelief to just say, yeah, great, fine, that was an awesome scene. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah. So let's touch on really quick. I guess I think we're going to get wrapped up soon. The last scene at the very end is we see them run into another
group. They get back
to
Alexandria really quickly, and then Simon and his group of saviors are right on their heels.
Yeah.
They threaten everybody. They tear the place apart. They break everything. They notice the missing stock room stuff, and then they leave, threatening that we're definitely going to kill Daryl if he's here in front of you all, and there will be big consequences.
Yeah.
Then they have to deal with, where's Gabriel? Why did he take all of our shit? And in a surprise move from me, Rick gives him the full benefit of the doubt right away. So I think Gabriel was one of the better developed characters from the first half of the season.
Yeah, I completely agree.
We saw a bunch of good little vignettes with him, explaining his transformation over the years, and Rick buys it. Rick believes that he's still, got their back in a very big way.
Yeah,
and so
he became full-blown from dusk till dawn priest at the one point where he was just basically massacring walkers around. So yeah, he was a character that was very shady. We knew that he succumbed into himself because he was so ashamed of what he did when he locked him, basically hid away from the mass of people that were looking for his help. So yeah, there was a great story out there, and that's why I think this scene is going to have so much importance, because there's going to be doubters, there's going to be people that think that he's up to his old tricks, but we've seen the character develop, and I think that it's going to have a meaning at the end. I have no idea who the people are that he ran into. If you're looking for answers, I'm sure you'll find it online. I don't know. Do you know?
What I know that they are is a group with guns.
Yes, and that's why. Do you think that's why Rick was smiling?
Saviors. Yeah, he's like, this is exactly what I needed. I needed another group that's well armed, a lot of people. Fuck yes, I have to just convince them to not kill us.
That's what I was going to say. It's also a very good technique to kind of reduce the tension that's there. If some group comes at you with guns and all of a sudden you're like, this is great. They're like, what the fuck? What's going on with this guy right now?
A year and a half.
Yeah, this guy's crazy right now. He's smiling. So I'm excited to see how it moves forward. I was anxious to see how they were going to kickstart after such a badass first half of the season, in my opinion, but I'm satisfied.
I'm sorry. Next episode is all going to be Carol alone with her thoughts out in the woods, trying to figure out whether she should or shouldn't kill people again.
Oh, man. But then she'll come back blowing some shit up.